God morgon allesammans. Stort tack för inbjudan hit till konferensen. Jag kunde ju förstås gärna, som ni alla andra säkert gärna suttit och lyssnat på Torvald en stund till, men att jag är tacksam för chansen att få prata. Det är tredje gången som jag deltar faktiskt nu här i Kirkeneskonferansen. Jag har varit finsk ambassadör i Norge i 3,5 år, så jag missar faktiskt en konferens. Så det är jag ledsen för, men jag är desto gladare att vara här idag. Och vi hade en fin diskussion igår där ordförande Rune Raffar sa någonting som fastnade i mitt huvud och som jag förstås håller med om. Och det var att Finland och Norge ligger kanske närmare varandra än någonsin nu, och vårt samarbete är kanske viktigare än någonsin tidigare. Nu är det ju sen förstås så också att vi finländare har haft mycket att göra med norrmän genom historiens lopp. Det var ju, tidigare fanns det inga gränser här, då rörde man sig fritt i området, speciellt här i nord då. Men också efter att det har kommit gränser så har det varit mycket finländare här i norra Norge, och jag brukar faktiskt säga som så att jag tror att vi finländare på ett sätt har varit med om också att bygga upp det moderna Norge här i norr, och det är förstås väldigt stolta över att ha varit med om. I was going to speaking English because I thought that maybe it would be easier for the interpreters not to have to translate my svorsk, which is what I've developed during my stay here in Norway, kind of a mixed between Finnish and Swedish and Norwegian. But I thought I'd outline briefly a little bit the Finnish perspective on both foreign policy in general, very briefly, and then in particular our view on the cooperation in the Arctic. Now, the starting point for us as a small country in the world is that we are completely dependent on our neighborhood and on the rest of the world. So for us, it is really essential to cooperate with other countries on a broad basis. This is one main pillar for our foreign policy. The second main pillar is that we are very dependent on the existing international mechanisms for cooperation, and in particular the respect for international law. So this is something that we are doing the best we can to promote worldwide. And thirdly, I wanted to underline what Thorvald Stoltenberg just said. For us, dialogue and communication with everyone is really essential. We don't see how we can solve problems by not talking to each other. We have to have an open communication channel no matter what the situation in the world is, and perhaps in particular when the situation is more tense. And fourthly, something that we will hope that we will not have a need for, but that we nevertheless feel that it's best to do, is to develop also our strong own defense. So those are kind of the four pillars that we hope to keep in balance in the Finnish foreign policy. When it comes to the Arctic, our goals are very, very similar to the ones that you have here in Norway. The main goal for us is to make sure that this remains a region of stability, of low tension. The second very important goal for us is that this remains a lively, a vivid, a dynamic region. And in order to achieve this, we need to have a balance between protecting the pristine environment, but at the same time promoting sustainable economic and social development in the area. And thirdly, I think for us it's very important the interest in the Arctic has grown immensely, tremendously during the last years, as we've heard during these days. In this situation, it is very, very important that we listen to those who actually live here in the Arctic, and because they are the best experts on how to develop the Arctic. We Finns feel that we have a contribution to make here. We are very proud of our so-called know-how. Well, then moving forward, I'd say that we talked about the Barents cooperation here already today, and it's a great honor to speak after Thorvald Stoltenberg, who is clearly the father of this cooperation. And We see it as a very successful, very important cooperation, and I would like to congratulate you on your 25 years jubileum, and at the same time also wish Finnmark good luck with the chairmanship now for the regional council, and our Swedish friends also chairing the Barents Council. I think they have chosen wisely when they chose youth as their theme. And I wanted to just maybe give one comment on Barents cooperation. To me, one of the reasons why it has been so successful is that it contains and lifts up all the different elements. It contains the nation-to-nation cooperation, but also the region-to-region dialogue, and finally involves all the local people, including the indigenous peoples. So this is a successful concept, again, building on dialogue in the broadest possible context. Finland, as we heard, took over the Arctic chairmanship in the Arctic Council. We prepared very thoroughly for this by consulting all the stakeholders and hearing their views on what they felt as being important issues. The motto for our chairmanship is exploring common solutions. So it's very important for us that it's based on dialogue and cooperation with all the member countries and representatives and also the observers. We have two main frames for our work, and the one is the Paris Climate Agreement, and the second one is the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We feel that the Arctic can be a contributor to both of these agendas, but this presupposes the inventful and innovative use of technology and cooperation and dialogue. So the priorities were outlined already by my minister yesterday, but I'll briefly remind you of them. Environmental protection, connectivity, meteorology, and education. And from the field of environment, I would like to pay particular attention to one issue, that is the reduction of black carbon emissions in the Arctic. This is a key challenge, we feel, both for the Arctic as such, but also for our planet as a whole. And Finland has been very eager to put attention to this problem that we have. We feel that there are good examples of how to reduce this problem. For instance, the Norwegian oil industry, who has managed to cut down its flaring in oil production by using modern technology. We aim to spread knowledge about this and also present good practical solutions on how to deal with this problem during our chairmanship. And our president has been actively bringing this forward in discussions both with our neighbors in Russia, when he met President Putin, and also when he met President Trump in Washington. Connectivity is the other important theme that we have. It's important to have a dialogue, but how do you have a dialogue if you don't have the infrastructure to meet each other? So we need the physical infrastructure. We talked yesterday about how it's important that we can move both east-west, but also north-south, and we connect the Arctic to the rest of Europe and to the rest of the world. And we have some ideas about that that you heard yesterday, for instance, the Arctic Railway and also the data cable connecting the Asian countries with Europe. So we hope that we can work together on those. But it's also a question of meetings, as we heard. People-to-people contact, very important, but these are also helped by a better connectivity infrastructure. For instance, we can use that to promote e-learning and telemedicine and other things here in the Arctic, where the distances sometimes are long and it's difficult to get the services out in the countryside. Meteorology is a third theme that I wanted to mention. It's becoming more and more active here in the Arctic region, shipping, other activities. We need to be well aware of the weather, and of course we have climate change influencing the situation, so meteorological information is crucial to have. Education, finally, I want to underline and just say that the risk of marginalization is bigger and huge if you don't have a good education. And we want to start at the beginning and feel that basic education is really where we should work more. Of course, also universities and such, but basic education really is the key. We've been happy that the general attitude in the cooperation in the Arctic Council has been very positive, and that the good cooperation continues is something that we see very important, and we will do our best to make sure of that as chairmanship, when taking care of the chairmanship. Finally, I want to mention one important actor that we heard yesterday a little bit about already, the European Union. We feel that the Union has an active and important role to play in this region. They are already here actively financing several projects, as we heard yesterday. We want to make their presence here more visible. We want to involve them even more in the work of the Arctic region, because as we heard yesterday, the importance of the Arctic region is growing for the EU the same way as the importance of EU is growing for the Arctic region. Maybe just a final word on, I've talked mostly now about multilateral cooperation, but we also have a very good bilateral cooperation with the other Arctic countries. Maybe I could just highlight our cooperation with Norway here and say that we have had a dialogue with Norway for several years, looking at how we together can develop the Arctic in a sustainable way. It's important for both of us that there is a possibility for people to live here. A big part of our populations live in this area. We've been looking at the issues that I mentioned earlier, infrastructure, but also on how to promote common goals through mobility of the workforce and to get rid of border barriers. And as I said, also education is a very important area. We saw some concrete examples from the area of infrastructure yesterday, where we worked on pilot projects in the area of intelligent roads, for instance, in the north, and others. So there is a lot of good things and concrete things happening there. At the same time, it's also very important for us to work together with our Russian colleagues. We've had several good projects with them, particularly in the area of environmental protection and border control. So we feel that the Arctic has a lot more to offer the world. There's a great potential in this area. Also looking at the global challenges, there are regional solutions for global challenges. I think somebody said here yesterday, that's a good thought. I mean, because it's all the global challenges are really about local problems in the end, although in some of them we need to cooperate, but the problems are local. And the starting point is the meeting of people. Because it's not countries cooperating, it's not organizations cooperating, it's always people cooperating. So that's maybe the note I want to leave you on. Thank you so much for your attention.
Tusen takk, Erik Lundberg, og Erik kommer tilbake igjen og svarer på spørsmål. Og til dere som er nye her I dag, så det mulig å sende inn spørsmål på SMS til de innlederne som på scenen. Og telefonnummeret som du sender SMS-en til, det 9209 3002. 9209 3002. Så sa Erik Lundberg at it is very important to listen to the people who actually live here. Og det finnes jo folk med unike økonomier I nord allerede. Samer for eksempel, reindrift. Hvordan ser urfolk på de planene vi har hørt om på konferansen om vekst, om utbygging og ny infrastruktur? Lederen for Arktis miljøavdeling I Samerådet har fulgt konferansen